try this again. Good morning, this is Don V with Truth Be Told, broadcasting Arizona under partly cloudy skies. At any rate, we found a couple stories we'd like to share with you. The first one is, if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. JB calls Congresswoman Maxine Waters a senator. Oh my word. Joe Biden on Wednesday called Congresswoman Maxine Waters senator, then quickly turned it into a joke to cover for his obvious dementia. Biden greeted Democrat Representative Maxine Waters, whose name he pronounced Walders, and called her senator. Oh my word. Senator, I hope, Biden said to Mad Maxine. If you think I'm kidding, I'm not. Maxine Waters seemed confused, shrugged her shoulders, then gave Joe Biden a pat on the back. Yeah, that's... Okay, I guess that's all there is of that one. Yeah, let's take a listen to this video right here.
Now it's Res 15. Speaker Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and Chewy Garcia.
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, hey Chewy, how are you, man?
Great to see you.
Senator, I hope.
Dum.
You think I'm kidding? I'm not. Now it's Res 15. Speaker Pelosi,
Okay, that was refreshing to see this idiot. Okay, it says a report. Ashli Babbitt shooter is a member of Mike Pence's security detail. Officer still not named after nearly 6 months. This is ridiculous. Ashli Babbitt's husband, Aaron Babbitt, and attorney Terrell Roberts joined Tucker Carlson earlier this month to discuss the continued challenges they have had getting any information on her death or identity of her government-employed killer. During the discussion, Tucker Carlson asked Attorney Roberts about the report that Ashli's shooter also left his loaded gun in a U.S. Capitol restroom. Tucker Carlson: Mr. Roberts, let me ask you. There are reports online, that's incredible, I don't know if they are true, that the Capitol Hill police who shot Ashli Babbitt, and I'm not going to mention the name, was the same officer that left his loaded gun in a public men's room on Capitol. Do you believe that it is the officer? It seems like a very reckless person who shot and killed Ashli Babbitt on January 6th. Attorney Terrell Roberts: Well, that's my belief. That's my belief. So we still do not know the name of the shooter after 5 months. And now the Spectator released information on Wednesday that the shooter may be a member of Mike Pence's security detail. Sources close to and within the intelligence community tell Cockburn that Babbitt was actually shot by a member of Vice President Mike Pence's protective detail. One person asserted that Cockburn overdrinks in D.C., that this is basically an open secret in the IC. This would be big if true. We reached out to the Babbitt family attorneys and we were told tonight that they will look into this allegation, and we will post an update when we hear more from them. This poor woman, she's a hero, and this is how they treat our heroes. Kamala Harris staffers are anonymously leaking to the media and revealing her office is an abusive environment, a place where people feel treated like... Can't say that word. Kamala Harris staffers are leaking to the media and revealing just how horrific it is to work for the most hated VP in modern U.S. history. Imagine what a nightmare it is to work for Kamala Harris. Last Friday, Kamala Harris's director and deputy director of advance resigned while Harris was in El Paso, Texas. Harris's impromptu and forced trip to El Paso blindsided her staffers and sent them into a panic, texting each other nonstop about the political fallout the trip would cause. The chaos surrounding Harris's trip to El Paso is just the tip of the iceberg, and Harris disgruntled staffers are airing their grievances anonymously to Politico. Harris staffers describe a dysfunctional environment where people are thrown down the bus from the very top. Tina Flournoy, Harris' chief of staff and longtime Clinton fixture, was singled out as the main source of the abuse, but staffers also blame Kamala Harris. Politico reported. In interviews, 22 current and former vice presidential aides, administration officials, and associates of Harris and Biden described a tense and, at times, dour office atmosphere. Aides and allies said Flournoy, in an apparent effort to protect Harris, has instead created an insular environment where ideas are ignored or met with harsh dismissals and decisions are dragged out. Often, they said, she refuses to take responsibility for delicate issues and blames staffers for the negative results that ensue. While much of the ire is aimed at Harris's chief, two administration officials said the VP herself also bears responsibility for the way her office is run. It all starts at the top, said one of the administration officials, who, like others, requested anonymity to be able to speak candidly about a sensitive matter. People are thrown under the bus from the very top. There are short fuses, and it is an abusive environment, said another person with direct knowledge of how Harris's office is run. It's not a healthy environment, and people often feel mistreated. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel treated like S. The dysfunction in the VP's ranks threatened to complicate the White House's carefully crafted image as a place staffed by a close-knit group of professionals working in concert to advance Biden's agenda. It's pronounced enough that members of the president's own team have taken notice and are concerned about the way Harris staffers are treated. Many Harris staffers are currently looking for other employment opportunities, according to aides who spoke to Politico. Kamala Harris had the same problem with the leaky, backstabbing staff as her presidential campaign imploded. Wow, wow, wow. Interesting, isn't it? How these people are just think they're all that just because they've are in a position of authority. Okay, it says fumbled infrastructure rollout leaves Republicans asking who's really in charge at the White House. Republicans are trying to figure out who to negotiate with at the White House because apparently it's not the president of the United States, said Missouri Republican Representative Jason Smith. What Republicans have come to understand is that this White House has handlers that control, apparently, the president's actions and decisions, said Representative Jason Smith, Republican of Montana, in an interview with Just the News. Smith, the ranking member of the House Budget Committee, was referring specifically to Biden's botched rollout of the long-awaited bipartisan infrastructure plan last week. Last weekend was a scramble for Biden to walk back a comment he made in front of the White House Thursday to announce agreement on a bipartisan framework for $1.2 trillion infrastructure package. If this is the only thing that comes to me, I'm not signing it, said the president, standing next to a working group of Democrat and Republican senators who were surprised to hear him condition his support for the deal they had just negotiated on a passage of a budget-busting Democrat spending bill, that bill which Democrats hope to pass without Republican votes in the Senate using budget reconciliation, will potentially include much of the spending that moderate Republicans and Democrats work to cut from the bipartisan framework. It was a surprise, to say the least, that those two got linked, and I'm glad that they've now been debunked, said Ohio Republican Senator Rob Portman. Senator Lindsey Graham called the president's unexpected announcement an extortion effort by Democrats. The promise of passing the bill simultaneously would potentially appease members of the progressive wing of the Democrat Party who feel the bipartisan infrastructure package is too small. However, that plan would evidently drive away some key Republican votes needed for the infrastructure bill to pass. Describing Biden's initial statement as the worst bait-and-switch tactic that we could ever see from a politician, Representative Smith said. Most Republicans have whiplash on Biden's infrastructure plan, and a Saturday statement was a classic cleanup on aisle 4. Yeah, this guy he makes me ill. All right. According to this report here on Real Raw News, James Comey loses his head to a guillotine. I don't know. What do you guys think? These news reports on this site are very detailed, and if they were all made up, how are they so well written? At any rate, let's go ahead and just read it. On Monday morning, former FBI Director James Comey died of natural causes. His heart stopped beating after a guillotine blade severed his head. Yeah. As reported previously, on June 4th, the Office of Military Commissions found Comey guilty of murder and treason and decreed that he had decapitated on or before Independence Day at 11 a.m. Monday. The U.S. Navy Judge Advocates General's Corps fulfilled that promise with Vice Admin John G. Hancock presiding over a brief ceremony ahead of the execution. Unlike Clinton and Podesta's executions, Comey lacked fanfare. Only half a dozen military personnel, including Marine Corps General David H. Berger, bore witness to Comey's grisly but fitting demise. Also, unlike previous executions, Comey lacked an execution detail. After two uniformed MPs escorted Comey to the ghoulish apparatus and laid his head on the chopping block. Vice Admin Hancock personally pulled the lever that dropped the 88-pound blade from a height of 14 feet. Comey's head fell into a basket, which was then sealed and taken to an unknown location. The execution took place near the Windward Point Lighthouse on the southern edge of Guantanamo Bay. A source familiar with the event told Real Raw News that the guillotine used to end Comey's life was one that he and former President Barack Hussein Obama had intended to use on law-abiding patriots. In that sense, the execution device was symbolic of Comey's hatred toward America and its people. In the moments leading up to his demise, Comey started kicking and screaming at the military police, dragged him into the guillotine. He reportedly blurted, "Oh God, please don't kill me. I didn't do anything wrong. I only ever followed orders. I have children. I don't want to die. This isn't justice." "You had many opportunities to accept the deal. Now it's too late," Vice Admin Hancock replied flatly. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this," Comey went on. The military police secured a locking mechanism across the neck that left him immobile. His arms were spread eagle. His shackles were fastened to wrists, pinned him to the platform, and when the blade fell, Vice Admin Hancock took a moment to address the small assembly. "We don't enjoy this. He had several chances to avoid this fate, and he refused them all. Justice has been served today." Boy. And last but not least, says Turner Granholm's comments about the Miami condo collapse should concern every American. We don't yet know the cause of the tragic collapse of the residential tower in Miami, Florida. One individual claims his wife called him in real time, saying the building was shaking and she watched the swimming pool fall into a sinkhole. Whether it is a structural issue or a matter of negligence, or perhaps the rare freak accident, the top priority should be human life. A staggering 149 people are still unaccounted for, and 12 are confirmed dead in the nightmarish scenario. But not for the left. No, if you want to push your narrative and advance your cause, every crisis is a valuable opportunity. Case in point. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, neither a scientist nor an engineer, declared, "Well, we don't know if the cause was, of course, climate change. Obviously, we don't know fully, but we do know that the seas are rising. We know that we're losing inches and inches of beaches, not just in Florida, but all around," Granholm said. We'll have to wait to see what the analysis is for this building, but the issue about resiliency and making sure we adapt to this changing climate, that's going to be mean. Levees need to be built, sea walls needed to be built, infrastructure needed to be built. She continued, "This is disgusting. I have long ago given up hope of anyone at CNN pushing back against the remark, but any reasonable or even feeling American knows just how callously opportunistic this comment is. This is the left. Everything is seen through the lens of political agenda. Had Beto O'Rourke been asked, he most likely would have answered in botched Spanish and blamed gun owners. Kamala Harris would laugh awkwardly and then talk about the role systemic racism played. Anything to push the agenda. Climate change is crucial to the Biden administration's agenda. The markets are not calling for government to pay $500,000 for electric vehicle charging stations, but the White House is doing it anyway because they hate the fossil fuel industry. As statists, they want to control what and how people drive, but they cannot say that part aloud, so the safe answer is climate change. Government is not easy, and no doubt the temptation on tedious issues is to punt into the future the way every U.S. president, both Republicans and Democrats, has done regarding the national debt in California. One such issue is forest management, and the negligence leads to devastating and deadly wildfires. But if you are Governor Gavin Newsom, you can wash your hands of the issue and blame, of course, climate change. Southern Oregon doesn't have such regular fires, nor does northwestern Nevada or southwestern Idaho, but only magically, conveniently, California has such micro-targeted climate change. Fascinating. Climate change is the reason to spend and the absolution of failure. Climate change is the heart and soul of the Green New Deal. Liberal Representative Andrea Ocasio-Cortez legislation, which her former chief of staff said, is a way to change the entire economy. Climate change allows John Kerry to fly private jets. Yeah, because he's special. Because it's the only choice for someone like me, was what Kerry said. Climate change allows Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to call for high-speed rail nationwide, while reading reports that California's rail boondoggle is $100 billion over budget and a decade behind schedule. President John F. Kennedy called for a man on the moon in less time than California can build the track between LA and Sacramento with absolutely zero political opposition. Climate change is anything authoritarians want it to be, but more than anything, it is the impetus to impose their will on a people unwilling to submit. In this thoroughly un-American sense, Granholm can use a building collapse without inspecting the damage, without a background in construction or engineering, to stroke panic. What follows will be a government determining your housing, your transportation, your freedoms, and all to under the guise of public safety and well-being. You think governors closing your churches and shuttering businesses during COVID was bad? Get ready for the power of government that declares a climate crisis. It will regulate everything, literally every facet in your life. Well, guys, those are definitely some really interesting stories today. This is my first live stream. A little clunky, a little different because I don't quite know how to use everything as a live stream yet, but it'll get better as we go. This is Don V, and we hope you enjoyed these stories, and we are